Hello, welcome to Kev Plays. This is Kevin, and we are on episode 2 of Chivalry. I'm here with my friend, my longtime friend Robert, and we're playing Aberfell. And basically, yeah, I guess I'll just jump right into it. Robert, you want to introduce yourself?
What's up, guys? I'm
Hi,
Robert, and Kev, thanks for having me.
no problem. Uh, I guess so. We've known each other since we were like kids, like probably like around fifth grade, sixth grade.
I think
Uh,
middle school,
Middle school, yeah.
the other way.
Middle school is really where we started becoming good friends. Um, and we play games like Smash, uh,
Killzone.
Killzone. Yeah, whatever.
Yeah.
We have failed to protect the village. Fall back to the tower.
But yeah. I also have a memory too of us playing. I never owned this game, but we played the Warriors at your house one time. Do you remember having that
Oh, the
game?
Warriors. Yeah, of course I do.
I
Yeah,
remember
that
that was
game
like a
was.
game I wanted to get because it had like a co-op, couch co-op feature to it.
Yeah, right. Because you could do the campaign mode, and then they had like build your own gang mode.
Right.
And so you could have a buddy play with you and stuff, and you can customize your gangster, and it was so cheesy and so funny, but that's like the vibe of it.
Right.
You saw the movie too, right? I think.
Yeah, I saw it back in the day.
Yeah. So I mean, it's cheesy. The voice acting was so bad, but that's just like how Rockstar games are.
Mm-hmm.
Well, GTA at least.
What was I gonna say?
I don't know, Ken. What were you gonna say?
So Robert, if you were to like convey yourself to the audience if you were to paint a picture for yourself, like how, um, if you want to just like give a little like bio, like tell us a little about yourself, just so the people who don't know you,
Well, let's see. Yeah. No. Well,
not to put you on the
we
spot
grew
or
up
anything.
together. No, of course. No, we grew up together. Lived in the same town. Uh, grew up playing video games, just like you, pretty much.
Right.
PlayStation 2. Uh, Definitely PC, even when it was primitive. I played a lot of Warcraft, StarCraft, World of Warcraft when that first came out.
Mm-hmm.
WoW Classic, as it's known now. I mean, that was my bread and butter for a time. But real-time strategy, a lot of medieval games. That's really the kind of games I like. But anyway, a lot of that stuff comes from my love of history. Um, let's see, I served in the United States Army for 6 years
Right.
when I was younger, and that taught me a lot, just about a hard day's work and other stuff like that. And now I live in Virginia, and have a family and stuff, daughter, and yeah, that is me. That is
You've,
who I am.
you've made quite the life for yourself, I must say.
I think so. You're average Joe, but we're all getting by.
And we met like in Boy Scouts. I remember we used to like kind of like role play kind of like military roles and stuff. And
Absolutely,
we would
yeah.
make up, we made up fantasy stuff like the Saja, and like I feel like a game like this, like Chivalry, like it's like right up our alley of how we used to kind of like make up fictional worlds in our head or whatever, and like make jokes and stuff like.
Yeah. Well, the shtick about the Saja, without getting too deep into the lore, I mean, it's like a world constantly under war and violence, and like dudes running around with swords, and like there was guns, and I think it first started off with the Sudan Saja, which was like the Civil War,
Right.
I think is what it was, and so it was always like dudes running around with muskets and things like that, north versus south and everything. It really exaggerated war scenes. And like this is a game is exactly what I picture. It's so dumb. It's like a Quentin Tarantino movie on steroids.
Right. And that all like the heart of that, like the core of that, really started when we would have the same teachers. Like we were in band class together. We had one of our band directors. He was so cartoonish and like uh, such an over exaggerated person that we just like we would just make our friends and like random teachers as part of like this world or whatever, and they're leading the battalion, and then it just evolved into even more abstract stuff like the deer and the bear and everything.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it was like these people were like caricatures in our lives. They were just complete parodies. I guess without saying his name, we'll call him Mr. Baracco.
Yeah, Brock.
Mr. Baracco was a complete psychopath, and he was one of my band teachers. I was in third grade, so before I met you, I don't know, did I ever tell you about that?
I don't think you ever
knew him
did.
before I really. Yeah, so Mr. Baracco was.
So he was planting the seed very early on before we even met.
Yeah,
Like
well,
his likeness and everything.
Well, because I didn't think about it, like when I was a kid.
Right, of
We're
course.
third graders, we're not thinking about it. But because like we learned the recorder, like the fucking recorder.
Yeah.
I remember.
Was he
like,
just as
remember,
intense with that recorder? Like
Yes.
with having to learn and everything?
Yep. I remember he got upset with us because like we couldn't grasp it. But we're fucking third graders. Like what the like.
You guys
our
couldn't
fingers
grasp
are
like blowing into the one note instrument?
And he's like bald, and he had like veins coming out of his head while he's like blowing into the recorder.
You fucking
And
idiot.
he's like, you don't play it like that. You play it like this.
And then he went on to like play like some like Mozart like piece with it.
Yeah, but he was like, because he plays guitar and stuff like that. So
Right.
imagine him like shredding on the guitar, but he's like doing it intensely on the recorder. Like with one monotone note, it's outrageous. And what's funny is, if you recall in some of the school districts we were in, like when they have like annex buildings, which they were like trailers.
Mm-hmm.
They were like long trailers that had.
Oh yeah, I used to
where,
when I moved to here in second grade. That was my first class. Was in like a trailer.
Yeah, exactly. So that's where
They called it the
music
portables.
has to be. Right. And so that's where he would teach. So it's like cinematically, it's like marching a bunch of kids to like a fucking scary fucking annex building, away from the school, and they're just like, all right, have fun. And here's this like crazy bald dude,
Right.
like trying to teach a bunch of kids like to play this really dumb instrument.
It's no wonder we escaped into a fantasy world. Because real life was too intense like that,
Well, yeah. Well, think about like when we were in his class, and we were in his good graces,
Yes.
thankfully. But we had a blast just watching him rip all these kids new assholes, and they needed it. They were like undisciplined kids.
Right.
Like he was just like, I know your parents. I know your parents.
Right, like you weren't crying in my office last week. Now you're acting
That's
all
right.
tough.
He did say that. Yeah, it's wild. So you and I were just literally just laughing our asses off behind the music stands. Like I remember I had very vivid memories of having to hold it. Like it was funnier because we didn't want to get caught.
Hmm. That's exactly what made it funnier. It's like it was literally like playing with like a bomb, like.
Yeah. Yeah, and like I don't know about you, but like I sucked on the baritone sax. Like I wasn't good at it. It was just fun to play and fun to bullshit.
Right. I never felt like I was like great at the bass clarinet, but I was adequate. I was passable. Like as long as I did like, practice like the bare minimum and that was satisfactory, then he didn't really have a problem. I always wondered how our concerts sounded to like our parents. Like for us, it probably sounded like really good once we started to like get better at it. But for them, it was probably just like a bunch of noise. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like incoherent.
Yeah.
Incoherent kids playing.
Like, but from our perspective, it was like like next level, like
especially actually it's funny because, and I hate to say this, but you know, my daughter she has concerts, not instruments, but you know, like chorus and stuff,
Right.
and they sound like shit, you know, but like we pretend like they sound great because it's like, oh, first stepping stone and all this and that. And I'm like, yeah, they sound like shit.
Right.
Yeah,
It's like you have to
know,
placate them a bit.
Absolutely.
Aberfell has fallen
How did we
into the
fail
hands
that?
of the enemy. Retreat to the
Damn.
mountains.
I don't know. I felt like we were holding them for a long time, though.
Standing stone.
We were.
That appears to be their
I got
focus.
caught in Baracco stories.
Yeah. When did Chivalry 1 come out? Do you know?
Man, I don't know off the top of my head.
Did you play it?
Actually. I did.
You did,
I
yeah?
did. Let me look it up. Actually, I'm gonna look it up right now. It's gonna bother me.
Alright.
Chivalry 1.
Did you get Chivalry 2, like, in 2021 when it released? Like, were you anticipating this game?
Yes. Oh, so to answer your question, 2012.
2012, wow, okay.
That's when the first one ruled. And
That's like PS3 era. Before
Yeah,
crossplay was a
yeah.
thing, so there's no way I would have even been able to play with you guys.
yeah, our mutual friend J-Man.
J-Man.
Actually, you know, he confesses he likes the first one better, and I think it's because he likes the maps in them, and maybe it's just a nostalgic thing for him, maybe. But
Did they carry any maps from the first game to this one? Or is it
No,
completely new?
they're all different.
Okay.
But I don't know. You know, I think they're both great in their own right. It's a game that I think it aged like wine, and I think they added great things to it.
Yeah.
And just made it better without changing. Like, you know, like some games just go off the rails and kind of get away from their roots.
Right, they try to like reinvent themselves. Like a good example is like SOCOM. The SOCOM games were really good, but then once Call of Duty started becoming more popular and more like financially, you know, like a powerhouse for like sales or whatever, it seemed like SOCOM started to try to imitate Call of Duty, and it started to lose its identity of what made it special.
Yeah. Yep.
But
That's just how it goes, though.
which is why I asked if they carried over, because like with the, for an example, like with SOCOM, like SOCOM 1 and SOCOM 2, like when SOCOM 2 came out, they carried all the original maps from the first game over, plus like double new maps or whatever. So I didn't know if like this was a thing where it was like a very big or like a very like I guess dedicated fan base where they wanted their like classic maps in it too.
I know that they continued, like, I think the story is, you know, I'm not familiar with the lore of this story, but
Right.
I think they continued the chronological story of it.
Okay.
I could be wrong, but I think if you ask J-Man, he'd probably tell you, but I'm pretty sure that they were pretty true to factions and their stories and the kings, and there's like things that the kings did and the princes and all that, like, you know, because like that final map is the final push, you know.
Right. Regicide for this.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so there is a story, but it's kind of just like you can take it or leave it. Like if you're just in this for the multiplayer fun, then you can just play the maps. But if you're actually paying attention to like the lore, like there actually is something to glean from this, which is kind of cool.
Right. So, Immersive, just J-Man told me that this map is a response from Agatha, because you know before this is like I don't know what the map's called, but when you attack the ships.
Oh, Askendir, I think.
Ships. Yeah. So that's an Agatha port.
Oh, the port. I mean, yeah, I think that's like Gallencourt or something.
Right, Gallencourt. That's right. So the
Right.
Masons raid it and destroy all the ships and stuff. So in that story, the Masons are supposed to win that, and so this map coming after it, it's Agatha's response to that.
Gotcha. Yeah, there's like almost like a political story going on of like, you know,
Yeah, absolutely.
just see some.
Just got my ass kicked, damn.
Did you?
Yeah. That's okay though.
Lower the volume here.
It's always next time.
Always next time.
Yeah, I always said that this game is like Monty Python, but like directed by Quentin Tarantino.
Because it has a sense of humor to it.
Oh, it's great.
You
It's
know,
very
it's not
cheeky.
just like serious medieval warfare. Like there's, and yet it's not like goofy, too goofy, where it's like you can dress your character up in like a pink afro or something.
No,
Like
no.
The satisfaction of
uh,
destroying those stones?
it just has a sense of humor to it. And I think that actually makes the world more alive because not
Yeah.
because even in real war, I imagine I've never been to war, but I imagine there's some levity that you try to find just to keep
Yeah,
yourself
there's comic
sane.
relief. Yeah, there's like, well, like every, I like, and Team Fortress 2 is, and that game's not realistic, but it's based off of like a period of history. It's like, I think it's
Right,
like 50s or early 60s, but it has that charm to it, right? And so
right.
these and then every class has like a specific character about them and how they are. So the footman is like kind of cowardly. He's in it, he's just like a peasant. He's like a peasant soldier. He just like, I mean, he's just like, oh, for that guy we like.
Right.
Like he doesn't know what he's doing, but he'll fight.
And the game sets out to do that from the beginning. It doesn't pretend that it's not going to be like a little, satirical and poking fun of it at itself and stuff. So
Yeah,
yeah, I always liked that
absolutely.
game. I used to play it. I think yeah, I would go over J Man's house and I would just hop on that while he was like doing like homework or something or whatever.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we had no choice back then. That was couch co-op. Like, playing online was so like unless you're doing a LAN party, there was no other way.
Right. I missed that era, man. I know part
Yeah.
of
Well,
part of
like,
it part of it is we've grown up and it's just like we're not those kids anymore where it's like you can just go to your friend's house and just dick around or whatever. That's what that era kind of like catered to is like you can just hang out with your friends if they're but now everyone's you're in another state. Online is very convenient and it's definitely a lot of pros to it.
yeah.
Um, but I
Yeah.
do
Absolutely.
miss kind of like playing an entire campaign of something in co-op with a friend, without caring about, without having any sense of like time or responsibility.
So close to winning this. Jesus.
Yeah, it's close.
Um. But yeah, actually, on that topic, you probably know, but I play D&D. Um.
Yes.
And I'm actually, I don't know if you're aware, but there's platforms where you can be a dungeon master and get paid for it.
Ah.
Um,
Okay.
yeah, so it's a very in-demand field where a lot of people want to play D&D. They just don't want to facilitate the game, and that's what being a dungeon master is.
Revelists have fallen.
I feel
So
like J Man has been trying to get us to play that forever, but it never happens because he would be the one facilitating. And I think he just gets too busy or whatever.
Well, I think J-Man gets what's the word? I think I don't want to say he gets overwhelmed, but I think it's like being a DM is difficult when you're trying because like you have to get all the get the tea time ready and people have to be cooperative and there's a lot of details you got to finalize. So it's not just your world or the game that you're running, but everyone you're responsible for everyone else's character.
Right.
Um,
There's a
in a
lot of
way. So
upkeep to
like
it. It sounds like.
there is, and I don't know if he's been a dungeon master before, and that takes practice. It's hard to do, and let alone doing it online. Like I've only done in person. I've played a lot of tabletop
Mm.
with friends, rolling dice and things like that. So online would be a different story for me. But anyway, I'm offering my services to you guys, and obviously I'd only charge you guys like $1 or two, but it would just be like
Yeah.
good for reviews and things like that.
I've never played the
I
game. I've never in my life played it, and I've always been intrigued by it.
yeah,
I know it has the
it'd be
stigma of
fun.
being like a very like a nerd's game or whatever, but I don't care about that. That's
Yeah, I think D&D back in the day had like a kind of a taboo kind of vibe to it.
Yeah, like
Um,
it had like this like and I don't like I game all the time, so I know that stereotypes aren't true, but it definitely had like that mother's basement type of stigma. I feel
yeah, like
like.
basement dweller. Yeah,
Yeah.
but no, like it's evolved, and even people like me, and that's not to say I'm not a nerd. Like I am definitely a nerd, but like
Right.
you mean if you looked at me, you wouldn't think I'm a nerd.
Right. You're well rounded.
Yeah. So like, there's a lot of, and even there's a lot of normie people playing D&D, and that's fine. I think that's games are for everybody. Whoever wants to play, is fine. I don't think there should be gatekeeping.
Right.
I think my rhetoric is don't be a dick. Just
Absolutely.
be a cool person and just respect people's
And the
methods
rewards
and
will
ways of
come.
playing, and the good times will roll.
So have you started doing that or have you just been doing it, like, because you said you're going to offer the services for us, like,
Yeah.
but
Yeah,
have you
so
done it with other people or?
no, well, I'm going to basically you guys are going to be my guinea pigs,
Okay.
pretty much. Um, I'm working on I made a Discord. I'm going to set myself up on. There's a platform. There's many platforms, but the platform I'm going to use is called Start Playing, and that's where people go online. It's like it's a platform where you look for online games that are being hosted, and you can pick any DM you want, any game you want,
Right.
based on your preferences. If you like more role play, or if you like more combat, or if whatever it is. There's a lot of ways you can find a game that's specific to how you like to play.
Right.
It's like flavors of ice cream.
So what is it, a website or like an application you start or something?
Oh, yeah, it's a website. So like, and I can walk you through it, but actually I'll have to walk all you guys through it.
Right.
But yeah, it's like you make an account, start playing and stuff, and then you log
nice.
in as a player. Oh, nice one. Yeah, and I just facilitate the game, and then I would invite you guys to my actual server, which is like it's called Foundry. It's like a digital hosting software.
Right.
But once I get that up and running,
Yeah,
and I get more comfortable with it.
I'm down,
Yeah. Sweet. I'm 196 now.
Nice. 214 for me.
You're so young. You're so young.
214 years young.
You're only as old as you feel.
So have you been playing anything else as of recent?
Yes. I recently bought Rogue Trader.
Rogue Trader. I did see in the Discord that this was being talked about, but I don't know much about it.
Um, I forgot what the.
I'm guessing PC only?
I think so. I could be wrong. It could be Xbox. But you're on PlayStation, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So you may not be able to play it, but it's kind of like Baldur's Gate, where it's like party RPGs, where like you make a character, you go through the story, and then you meet other characters that go into your party and stuff. So
Right.
they have special abilities. This is Rogue Traders specifically taking place in the world of Warhammer 40k. So I'm not sure if you're familiar with that.
I am aware of that. I haven't played it, but I know of that game.
Yeah, so it's like Space Marines and all other stuff.
Right.
Space monsters. Which is funny because I'm more of a fantasy guy. If I had to pick between sci-fi, but
Right.
I like Warhammer fantasy and 40k, so I think it's pretty neat.
Wait, so Rogue Trader is like a spin-off of that game, or are you saying it's kind of like that game?
Oh no, it is so Rogue Trader, as per the lore of Warhammer 40k, is like Rogue Traders are like I think they're like they run trading empires, so they're like specific to the lore of 40k. They're like they're like a specific occupation. So that's what it is. It's like they're like masters of commerce and things like that. They pilot like a big ship, and they trade and things like that. So this game kind of plunges you into the world of 40K, and like you're like a supreme commander and whatever, and you end up inheriting this big ship from somebody, and I'm not really too far into the plot yet, but that's you know,
Okay.
wars in the galaxy, so it's pretty cool.
Nice.
But it's a really deep game. Like it's if you've heard of Pathfinder, it's made by the same company that made that.
Okay. Yeah, I did hear that. I know that.
I think it's called Owlcat, I think is the company. Um, but that game's like, it's very like, you know how like D-Man is really into like meta, and he's all about that, and that's fine. But
Right.
when it comes to games, sometimes when there's too much math, there's too much like meta, sometimes it makes my eyes cross.
Right. Yeah.
So I try to enjoy it. Well, like this game, there's no meta to it.
Right. It's pretty
My opinion.
straightforward.
It's just fun.
And yet
It
there's
has, like,
layers
tricks
to it,
and-
you know,
Yeah, it's
to the
not,
combat and
overly
everything.
complicated.
Me, I've,
Oh,
you know,
We've sent
oh, what were we gonna say?
now.
Sorry.
Let's do the rest.
Oh, no, I was gonna say, how are you enjoying Kingdom Come?
Yeah, so
Deliverance?
I've been playing Kingdom Come Deliverance. You've played the game in full, right?
Oh yeah,
And
love it,
you were
yeah.
saying it's like one of your favorite RPGs?
Yes,
Move on.
it's one of my favorite games. I think it's like top 5 for me.
Oh, nice. Yeah, so I'm still in the early goings of it.
Smash down the gate with your
Obviously, I came across that, what was it? The kind of like a roadblock that you kind of helped me with, where I was
Yeah.
basically, I guess would you call him like my liege? If someone's like a nobility and he's more, is that the right term?
Yeah, yeah.
Uh,
Like you're talking about like Sir Radric,
Yeah.
Sir Radzik.
No, not what was his name? The guy that's kind of like pompous.
Oh, Hans Kopen.
Yeah, Hans. Yes. So like
So he's like, yeah, he's not your lord per se.
but he has like a
He's-
hierarchy over me where.
Correct. Yes. Yes. He's basically like a noble prince, or like he's a young man who's of nobility. So yes, you're his subordinate.
Right. So like I went like on a hunting trip with him, and
Yeah.
I did pretty good. I got I bagged some rabbits. I even got myself a deer.
Yeah.
And then and then he gets captured.
Got him. You got him.
It was funny too because I saw like when I was in the woods hunting, I saw these two like guys up to no good just walking around. I don't know if you know that. Like you can see them before they become part of like the mission, basically.
Oh no shit. Oh wait. Yeah. Wait. You're right.
'Cause
You're
there
talking
were-
about
Like there was a guy like on the trail. Like I was in the woods still, but there was a guy on the trail, and he's like, "Hey, what are you doing?" He's like, "Get over here. I want to." And you could tell he was up to no good, and he wanted to
the
like.
two humans, right?
Right. So I just like ran off into the woods and thought nothing of it. And
That's
then
funny.
and then it turns out that he gets captured by them. He gets tied to like a
Right.
post, and I'm supposed to free him. And if I try to like run into town or go anywhere, like it basically like cancels or like fails the mission. So basically, like I'm there without a shield. I have like a like what's called like a sea axe. I think it's how you
Oh
pronounce
yeah,
it.
yeah.
Like that's probably my best weapon. I have that and a bludgeon or something, and it's not really like the sea axe is probably my best bet. And I'm basically like I have to like trudge through the woods every time and then try to defeat these guys, and it just wasn't working. They were just completely outmatching me every time.
Right.
But and I tried to untie him at first, but it said like, "Oh, you're too late" or whatever. But then I realized that it's because I was it was middle of the day. They already saw that I was trying to untie him, so that's why it wouldn't allow me to do it anymore, I guess.
Right.
But then you came up with like, and this is what I needed to get used to is using the day night cycle and using letting time pass or whatever. And so like once I waited for nightfall, it worked like a charm. Like I didn't even actually have to like deal with them at all. Like we just
Yeah.
but yeah, ever since then I've been I'm in this like very long quest right now that keeps like trailing off into like basically the quest is there's been like a slaughter at one of the farms or something, and like the horses
Yeah.
are all completely slaughtered, and We're trying to figure out what happened, and I'm basically playing detective. Uh,
Yeah.
and one of the guys runs off, who's like in part of the farm, and you're supposed to wonder like, is he part of this, or or is there something more to this? And eventually like you track him down and stuff, and but then it
Yeah.
becomes like it just there's more to it where it's like I have to like at the moment like I found the guy who ran off and I talked to him. And I basically like lied to him because he was basically scared is why he ran off because he was like under like some threat or something. And I basically said, "Oh
Yeah.
yeah, those guys were taken care of. You don't have to worry about them." Even though I never took care of them at all. I don't even know who he's talking about.
Oh,
but
that's funny.
yeah,
That's hilarious that you did that.
right. So like I basically did that, and he ran off, and I basically got him to go back or wherever he's supposed to go. But there's another part of the quest right now. I'm kind of blanking on what exactly I'm doing. But basically, I went to a new town, and there was like another murder there. And it's like I don't know if I'm like in the middle of a new quest line or something, or if it's still part of it. But like I basically have to like
Oh yes, yes. You're talking about where the guy was like murdered in his house.
yeah, and it was very
Yeah.
ritualistic the way the murder was.
Yep. Yeah. So it's related,
It's related,
but
right? That's why I want to
it's
say.
related. Yeah, it's related, but it's not. And that's the thing about that game is that like it's going to give you it's going to give you quests and or objectives that you may or may not be able to figure out right then and there. Or they're just like things in the back of your mind to use for context.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Which is very. I don't think
Because
I've ever played a game like this where they do that. Where because usually
yeah,
like I played open world games. I've played RPGs in a sense, but I've never played it so in depth where um, it almost feels like every choice matters. You know what I mean?
absolutely, yeah.
Like I've played games where choice matters, but this feels very involved. Where it's like a lot of times, like I just I'll make a like there was one where I had to like question the priest, and I had to meet him at the tavern because he would
Oh yeah, the monk. Yeah, yeah,
yeah like he was supposed to help me with this investigation in some way, and I completely what ended up happening was I got greedy. I saw an easy lockpick, and I like an easy lock to pick or whatever, and I started
yeah.
picking it. I was like, let me try because I still have not successfully picked a lock in this game.
Okay. So you just gave it a try.
Like yeah, I gave it a try. Your character really doesn't know jack on how to do anything.
No.
Like he really is a peasant's peasant, But
Yeah.
which I appreciate how they start him from scratch like that.
Henry's like dumb as shit.
Yeah, but yeah, basically I got busted trying to pick this lock,
Yeah.
so I had to get thrown in jail, and I missed
Oh yeah.
my little play date with the priest. Like,
Oh no. Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The game will come up to punish you for those things. Yeah, for sure.
and because of that, now he, what seemed like I would have got an answer out of him if I like if we had some drinks together. Now I have to find a new way to learn whatever I was trying to learn.
That sucks, dude. Because that when you meet him at the tavern, that's such a it's an iconic part of that
I
game.
you,
It's sad that you missed that.
you're saying that, and it's funny because I actually like I very I don't want to say I know what happens, but I've through the grapevine in a very vague sense I kind of know this like
Yeah.
because like you said it's iconic like even as someone who's never played the game I kind of have heard, I think I don't know whether I've heard anecdotally from like D-Man or maybe I heard it in like a review or something but like it definitely seems to be a very renowned part of the game or section of the game
It's
which
very
makes me
yeah. It's a
kind of
very
which makes me a
yeah.
little disappointed that I missed out on it.
Yeah, and I mean that's look. I mean, it's a game you could always just do another play, and there's a lot of replay value in that game for sure. So you'll experience things that you didn't before. Um, but yeah, that's interesting though. Most because I feel like a lot of people that's like it's also an easy appointment to make. Like you just happened to just make a choice that just wasn't a good choice.
Right, and
Like,
which
oh,
is kind of which makes it more like it makes me more invested in the world that I can miss something so cool just
yeah,
based on
no,
a
it's
simple
great.
choice I made. That's kind of like where I give the game its flowers. Where
Well done. We've cleared an area of loot.
Yeah,
that where not only is it's like I've played games with replay value before, but this is like uh
different experience.
like a completely different playthrough basically now. But
Yeah, for sure, man.
but yeah, I've been
And
playing.
then
I've been playing this because I've been. I don't want to rush through it. I'm playing it very slowly at the moment.
yeah,
But because there's really no other games that are like there's other games I'd like to play, but I'm in no rush to play any other games right now. I'm fine just kind of like marinating in this world and enjoying it for what it is. But also, I know that like in February or so, the second game is getting a release.
hmm yep.
Do you plan to get that like day one, or do you think you're gonna
Oh,
wait?
yes. Nope. I
That's like a day one game for you.
yeah, well, because I think in this day and age, like it's funny because like there's no point pre-ordering a game anymore unless you want the soundtrack or if you want digital content. But
Right.
at the end of the day, everything goes on sale. Steam's very notorious for it, so if there's a game that you want to play but you're good with waiting, it'll go on sale at some point. But despite despite all that, they're just games I fucking simp for, and Kingdom Come Deliverance was that game. Like when I highly anticipated that game. Here's some other context. Was that game came out just as I was coming back. I just got out of the army actually when that game came out,
Oh
and
wow.
I was stationed in Germany for 3 years during that time,
Hmm.
and so leaving Europe was hard. I really loved it. I felt very connected to the world and stuff.
Right.
So to hear that there was a game that was coming out that was about an area that I lived in for 3 years, which because that game takes place in Bohemia, historically known as Bohemia, and it's modern day Czech Republic.
Right,
So
because they
like,
mentioned Prague in it at one point too, right?
yeah, yep,
That's
correct.
right.
Um, so where I lived in Germany was southeast Germany. So it was Bavaria, but it
Hmm.
was like the southeastern part of it. So like for reference, Prague was like a 2-hour drive for me, which I went to. It was a beautiful city.
Right.
Um,
My
so
uncle
like
says like if you ever go like on a trip with friends, you got to go to Prague.
yeah, Prague is fucking awesome.
Hmm.
But yeah, so like that game felt very. It just hit close. It hit really close to me.
Right.
Because
It
like
spoke to you, like
yeah, like so you play it like in the landscapes like everything is and the developers I think they're called Warhorse or Iron Horse I forget what they're called, but they're all from Czech Republic and so they did a lot of like all those locations are based on real things like Talmberg is based off of a real keep.
ah.
They used like drone technology to map out what the ruins are, and then they built upon that what it probably looked like back in the day. So all of those places are based on real places.
That's
And
funny because now that gives context. Because when I was being frustrated with the game at first, because I said like I'm never going back to Talmberg because they locked me up, and you kind of responded like, "Don't speak ill of Talmberg."
don't talk shit about Talmberg.
Yeah, it's like I get it. I
So
get that
fun.
now.
Yeah,
And they did seem
yeah,
friendly, so I was just being a dick.
yeah. No, it's true. I mean, if you look back on the game and you Henry as a character, you're a headstrong kid that you just you're not respecting anybody and like you don't know anything and you're not good at anything. So it's like
Right, and yet they
when you
took
really
you
take the
in.
time. Yeah,
You know.
exactly. Yeah, like they're fucking saving you from yourself, and then they actually save you while you're doing something stupid. So it's like
Right.
but I think that game's a really coming of age kind of story, and I remember you came to that conclusion after I was mentioning to you what it took to be a good swordsman in that game, and you were like, oh, it's a very lifestyle game.
It's not like Chivalry where it's kind of more intuitive. Like Chivalry is a learning curve too. But, we've been playing this for a long time. Like me and you are ranked almost like in the 200 range at this point. Like we've been playing it for years. But for me to jump into Kingdom Come Deliverance combat, it's very you're starting from scratch. You really don't. Your skill level is completely bad, but it's also like a completely different uh, move set and control set that I'm
Yeah.
just not used to. But I'm starting to get the hang of it. But
Well,
it's
because
different. It
the
definitely
fact
is
is
different.
like because the game is because it's not like and I was trying to communicate that with you without like because it's not that you're doing like I think when D-Man said something like, "Oh, you just have to get good," and in most cases that would be taken as like, "Oh, you as a player just suck, so do better."
Yeah.
But in this game, it's like it's literally just saying your character needs to get good, and
Right. And
you know because like you can mechanically know everything, but like the game will not allow you to excel and be and unlock things that make you good as a swordsman unless you continue to practice with Bernard, which you
which is
know
what I
like
wanted
the
to
wireframe
do. Which is
stuff.
what I couldn't do, unfortunately, when I was trying to like kill those two guys that kidnapped
Right.
Hans. But now that I'm in this investigation too, I also kind of because Bernard's part of this investigation. He's like not in the town anymore. You know what I mean? So it's
Right.
like
You're kind
I'm
of
trying to
stuck.
like wrap up this investigation so I can get him back.
Get back to training. Yeah.
Right.
Yep. Yep. It's there's a lot to think about. You know, that game definitely makes you have to do things that you wouldn't normally think about doing in normal RPGs.
Right. I appreciate that. I always try to get games that are different, that are a little outside my wheelhouse. That I try not to get games that kind of repeat themselves too much, whether in
Yeah.
genre or with like it's one thing. Like I don't think I actually have any first-person open world RPGs anyway. I don't have like Skyrim or any of those more fantasy-like games. I like that it's a little bit more grounded in reality and in history.
Yeah.
Um,
It's great.
but
It's a
yeah,
great game, man.
I'm enjoying it. I'm still in the early goings, but I'm excited to get back into it. Shit.
Oh man. Lame. Yeah, if you're ever interested in the history of that game, because they kind of touch upon it in the beginning, where it's like they talk about Sigismund, I think it was Sigismund the first or the second, whatever it was,
Right.
or Wenceslas. Maybe it's Wenceslas, I think. But either way, there's a lot of historical names that are dropped, and they talk about there's like a civil war in Bohemia, and how there's like humans being recruited, and humans are back in those times were like seen as barbaric Eastern Europeans, but they were it's like in the game when you're facing off with humans, like they just seem like disgusting, awful people because like they raid your fucking home.
Right. You're
They
looking
burn
at it
your
from the
house
perspective of the
down.
victim. Like, you have no
Yeah,
idea why, the larger ramifications as to why it's happening or anything. From
yeah,
you, it's just like,
yeah. I
oh, it's
like
just a bunch of people pillaging and raiding and slaughtering our people, like, which is bad. But war is bad. But
yeah, yeah. It's a great story. Um, it's I call it a medieval simulator because it pretty much is.
mhm.
Um,
It's
the
definitely a
whole
game
the
that's
whole
right up
like
your alley. I
We've been
feel
ambushed. Defend yourselves.
I feel like this game is like
yeah.
custom made for you.
Forward.
That is how I felt. Like it came in a time in my life where it's just like I said, leaving Europe was hard. It was amazing, and I was just like, after living in Germany for 3 years, it was like, an immersive experience, and you feel a part of the culture, then by the time that happens, you leave, and so
Right.
leaving it, then playing that game, like that, as soon as that game came out, I was like, yo, and yeah, that game spoke to me, and I've done 3 full playthroughs, and every time I play it, I keep telling myself I'm gonna do something different. I'm gonna try to be a rogue this time because I defaulted to like the honorable knight. That's the type of build or the type of character. I have him doing honorable decisions rather than bad decisions, and
Right.
and so that's what I would always do. And then I'm like, yeah, but like you could play this game differently. You could be a rogue. You can still finish the story and wear like instead of armor, you can wear light armor and like be apt with like dagger and stuff, and I'm like, every time I play it, I'm like, nah. You know, I just go back to what I always do. So,
Right.
but it's rewarding though. It's just fun.
And that's the making of a great RPG though, where it's like you get so invested in the world that on paper you thinking you're going to do something differently, but then you're just so like invested in the world that it's like no, I want to be who I am, like who
Yeah,
what speaks to me the most, like.
yeah.
And
What
if,
I
if
know.
if that's the same old thing, then whatever. But you're having fun.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, at the end of the day, what are games, right? It's just have a fun time. So
Right.
do what makes you happy. Get this guy out of here, though. Get that guy.
Get that guy. So we're on
I
offense
like.
for this. I
Yeah,
was hoping we'd be
yeah. I
on
like.
defense, but offense is fun.
Oh, to do that funny thing that we always
Yeah.
do with the catapult. That's alright.
There's always next time.
Yeah. No, that's how. That is like one of the key phrases in this game. You know, like there's always next time. I have one arm.
Do you? Do
I
you?
had one time where I was running around with one arm, and like it shows like a countdown to when you die, like you know what I mean?
Right.
But I had someone heal me, so I was healed, but I had one arm.
Right.
So like I think I was just like running around with a sword I just picked up, and it's just funny how this game does that. It's just like those funny glitches.
I've once had like no arms, and I got revived, and I literally was headbutting people.
You had no arms.
Like the game makes you start to headbutt.
Yeah, that's so stupid.
But that's the sense of humor this game has.
And surprisingly, the headbutting, it's effective in a way because it breaks defenses pretty good.
Right.
It's like you do like these little rabbit punches to people, and they're not prepared for it. Like,
Yeah,
you do
that's
these
what I
big winds-ups.
that's what I realized is that I can keep headbutting and like they couldn't break out of the cycle of me doing it. Like there was no like
Yeah.
time for them to like put on a defense or something.
So funny.
So like literally like their only defense is if some other teammate came to stop me.
Yeah, I mean they can kick you too, but yeah, there's a lot of.
Yeah, they could do that.
It's
Yeah.
just like it's giving utility to something that's so insignificant. Like everyone else has got armor and swords and stuff, and you're just running around with no arms, and you can still do something.
Right. Oops, I just took someone out.
Well done.
Do you have like
Reach the gatehouse.
what was your last console? I wonder.
Masons, capture that gatehouse.
Because you're
There's,
mostly a PC guy,
Yeah, now I am.
almost exclusively
I
now,
own-
right?
Now I am, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I was like you for a long time, where like PlayStation was my thing, and I still love PlayStation. I have a secret love for it. Well, I mean, if we're gonna go back to the beginning, like I think N64 was like the big breakthrough for me as a kid. But that's because that's what I was given.
Right. I was giving a PlayStation 1, but I was playing N64 at friends' houses all the time. Like either or was fine for me. Like that was the generation I
Yeah.
grew up with it.
Yeah, I think N64s were just it was just so intuitive as a system. It was so good.
Right.
Great games. Because that was before Nintendo got all like, more. Because like Nintendo now is more childish, I think.
Yeah, it's like they never kind of like because even like PlayStation had like its child friendly platformers like Spyro or Crash or whatever, but like those developers grew from that. They moved on to like Jack and Daxter and Ratchet and Clank, but then even beyond that, you get like the Uncharted or the Last of Us and stuff like that. And it's not to say that like because they just came out with Astrobot, which I actually played, and it's a good like because I just enjoy platformers. I don't care if it's like a kids game or not. But like I can go back and forth between like mature games and like a kids game as long as it's a great game.
Yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I agree. Nintendo kind of just they made that their brand basically.
Well, you know what? It wasn't a bad move on their part because I think
They're very
if you
successful
look
with
at
it.
yeah. Well, so to answer your question previously, my last console was an Xbox, and that is because
Escort the caravan forward.
I think it was an Xbox One, and I think it was just because I got it on sale, and I think I was just looking for something different.
Right.
Um, you know, and you may disagree with me, but like I almost think even though PlayStation has their exclusives, I kind of rope consoles together because at one point or another, a lot of the games I was playing were getting onto both systems.
Right.
I think it was at one point, which does happen.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a lot of third-party
aside from,
games.
Yeah. But with that said, you know, I mean, The Last of Us was one of those games for PlayStation that I adore. A lot of
Right.
people love it. And that's a PlayStation exclusive. Although now it's on Steam.
Right, they're slowly but surely, like after like a couple of years, like releasing like the PlayStation first party onto Steam, which I think is cool because it's like they already got their sales out of the console audience, so might as well just put it on the PC. Like they're not competing. Like PlayStation really isn't competing with PC. They're more competing with like Xbox. So
Yeah. Yeah. I will say, I think the PlayStation consoles have always been a tried and true system.
hmm
It's like, it's never had that ring, you know, the Ring of Death was a big thing with the 360s, and,
right,
you know, I just don't recall PlayStation's having, like, these worldwide issues where they had to, like, recall stuff and things like that. Like, it was like, PlayStation just delivered what it delivered, it was good at what it did, and
right.
it just kept going with it, you know?
I think that their single player games is like they're what I'm drawn to. Like they're kind of like the story driven games. That's what I like about it. I always like, like I like multiplayer. I like and now that things are becoming more crossplay, then that's becoming the norm. I kind of can have my cake and eat it too when it comes to like playing a game like this with you, and then still playing like on like on the day of release I can get like a Last of Us or a God of War game or something.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. But yeah, so yeah, my last console was
Xbox
an
One.
Xbox One, which
Did
I
you?
donned.
What
I
was your
gave it
last
to my
PlayStation?
daughter, so.
What was your last PlayStation? PS2?
PS4.
PS4. Okay. Okay, so that was the same generation as the Xbox One.
Right, yeah, so I had PlayStation 4 for a long time.
Right.
And then just one day I just decided, I was like, well, I'm an adult and I can have two consoles, right? So,
Yeah.
so I did that. And then I just saw no difference, and I was just like, oh, okay, I just have two consoles for no fucking reason, so.
Right. And now the thing is, like, a lot of Xbox games that are supposed to be exclusive are they're migrating over to PlayStation. So now I'm kind of just like they are kind of blending together a bit. Like, I have a 360 that someone gifted me, like an old 360, and I picked up like the Halo games and stuff. But most of like the PlayStation stuff speaks to me more in a way, like in terms of, you know, I enjoy Halo though. Like,
It's preference. But I really fell nice and snuggly with the PCs, and that's because I dabbled in PC for, like I said, it was Warcraft 2,
right.
Diablo, first Warcraft, or World of Warcraft, things like that.
There's a lot of
Neverwinter
those
Nights.
games that I just completely missed out on because I never had like a proper PC rig or anything like. And now that I'm adult, I can get one, but it's like at this point I'm kind of just like I'm not in any rush for it.
Sure.
But there are games I would love to play. I would love to play like the old Half-Life games that are only on PC.
Oh, yeah.
World of Warcraft. I did play a free trial of World of Warcraft once with Farrell, our friend,
What?
like
Well,
back in the day.
Yeah, I mean, we could have a whole fucking conversation about Blizzard. I think Blizzard is one of those companies that really just took a shit. They shit the bed.
Yeah, I've heard. I've seen like that video where that one guy at like the BlizzCon is like, "Is this an out of season April Fool's joke?"
Oh,
I don't-
it's so funny.
Oh,
They gave it.
because it was like mobile Diablo or something, like Diablo on
Yep.
cell phones or something, and
It
and,
was
and
like
then
you're
and like
so
the devs
dumb.
were like, "What? You guys don't have phones?"
Yeah, it's like, wow, dude. Like, I never understood what the business model of saying fuck the customers and like fuck what the fans want. Like, I don't understand that.
Right. I don't get
'Cause,
that either.
yeah, because like you get these really snobby, stuck-up devs who just see these games as their creative expression. Which, yes, there is a truth to that, but they internalize it, right? They sit there and go, well, like if we're gonna talk about like woke stuff, like, and I won't get into what woke stuff is. You know what it is, but
Right.
like where they push that on games, and then they sit there and they wonder why these games fail, like Concord.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we don't gotta get into that too much, but I'm just saying it's a prime example of like what people want to play, because you can still satisfy any status quo thing you need to, which Baldur's Gate did a really good job of.
Right. They kind of like catered to all that in a way, like where it wasn't like where it wasn't distracting or anything, where you could still play it without
Yeah,
getting
absolutely.
bogged down with like the nonsense of it.
No, yeah, well, it's if you want to be an elf and you want to have purple hair, you can do that.
Right.
If you don't, then you don't.
And that was the thing with Dragon Age too, right? Like you can make like incisions or something, or whatever.
Yes.
But
Yes, I give you that customization. Yeah.
like I'm all for customization options. If I can
Yeah.
make my character like just give him a little weight in the belly or whatever, and give him some glasses or like or whatever. Like there's a lot of games I play where it's like they don't even let you make your character like they don't even have scaling options anymore.
Right.
So
Yeah. Well, because
as long as there's like stuff that will uh appease what I want to create, then whatever. If they're gonna make some thing for other people, then whatever. But
right. Well, that's where like Concord failed was that it was trying to like they were trying to make the game for everyone to a point where it was for no one. You
right,
know what I mean?
there was a lack of art design. Like there was no like vision in what they actually wanted to make the game cool. Like how to make the game like cool and appealing for people. Like there was nothing there for anyone.
Yeah. And to your point, I'll always go back and say that Baldur's Gate, Larian Studios did a fantastic job with that because like you can literally play the game how you want to play it. It does not tell you anything. It doesn't tell you what to do.
Right.
It doesn't tell you.
It's not forcing you to or pushing anything on you. Like
Yeah.
it's just there. Like
Exactly.
all the options are there, and you just play it the way you want to play it.
Yeah.
That's what I like. You know.
Yeah. Exactly. Because what do we play games for? We play to have fun, and we play to, I don't know, like play it the way we want to play it. I don't know how to explain it, but it's just, so when you have these games these devs that get all uppity about their vision and like, because, what's the new phrase is review bombing. They say that there's people out there that'll just review bomb a game because they want to see the game fail, and
Right.
I'm sure there's people out there that do troll, but like, if a game is just bad, it's just bad. There's no excuse. You know what I mean? And so,
Right. There's only a certain point before you can start, where you don't have to blame outside sources as to why you're not scoring well or whatever.
yeah, well, it's accountability. You know what I'm saying? Like,
Right.
they don't want to take it. Like, again, going back to Concord, but the art designer did a whole "woe is me" post and just saying that like, she's not taking any accountability for her part in its failure. It's always the gamers, it's always the fans that are the problem. And
Right.
It's like, no, we paid for a product, we're not happy with it, and this is why. If you don't like that, I don't know what to tell you.
Exactly. And
like,
they put. Do you know
so-
it was like $400 million that went into this game for over 8 years.
Yeah. It well, yeah. What's scary is that game got a lot of outside funding.
Right.
like I think some European companies invested in it that weren't even game companies. Like there was some, I don't know if it was political or whatever, but they got some kind of crazy amount of money from non-game sources, and it's like, you know, whatever they were trying to do, it just didn't work with people.
Yeah, it's like I don't know. Like I get that there's a very loud part of like the of like gamers where they'll complain about everything, anything or whatever, or they're they'll act like spoiled brats or entitled, but that's not everybody.
Well
And
fought. We have destroyed the
when
barricades.
you try to blame them or try to or you're not listening to what the market actually wants, and I'm all about being your own artist and sticking to your guns with your vision or whatever, but in Concord's sake, like there's no like real artistic integrity going on. It's just a game that's clearly just trying to win, social political points or or whatever. It's not really. It doesn't
Well,
seem
there's
to
an
have the
agenda
game at
to it.
heart in terms of. But I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I'll talk about Overwatch. I don't know if did you play Overwatch? You know of it, I'm sure.
I do know, yeah, because that was a very successful hero shooter, which is what Concord was trying to be.
It was like the first, yeah. Um, Overwatch had a very bad decline. What happened was, and I played it actually with Riney.
Okay.
Um, him and I played. We were both overseas actually. He was in the Air Force. I was in the Army, so like we were in
Right.
different countries, different time zones, but we were still playing that game, both on PS4.
Oh, wow.
But anyway, yeah, like that game took off like a rocket ship. Like it was when it first came out, it was like the new Team Fortress 2. We were really excited about it and stuff, and had really great characters and like the art design was original. They were, like we were talking about how like in Team Fortress 2, all the characters were like had quirky personality traits, and they had like their own cinematic and intros and stuff, and they were cool, and it was like, and that's what Overwatch did, and it was like, okay, Blizzard, I see you, you're doing something good,
Right.
and
That was
yes, there were
2016, right?
some, yeah, it could be, yes,
Yeah, I
I
believe
believe
so.
so,
Yeah,
yeah,
2016.
um,
Or was that
and
Overwatch
so yes,
2? I forget. I don't know. Anyway, sorry.
maybe you're right, well, very good, but yeah, and so, and that is one of those games where they did throw some like agenda type things in it, which at first was a little annoying, but then it was like, okay, well, it's not hurting the game at all. Like, it's like, it's about representation and all this other stuff, and it's like,
Right.
oh, okay, fine.
Like, aren't
the
you
game,
playing as a
they
gorilla, pretty much? Like in one of the characters. It's supposed to be kind of like wonky and
yeah,
diverse inherently. Like, so,
yeah, exactly. And that's fine. Like it's whatever. Like to me, what they were doing wasn't hurting my play experience, and it, if it checked the box for them and it, helped some people feel included and whatever, then cool.
right.
Because like at its core, the first game was good. And I got a lot of hours out of it, a lot of fun. We had a lot of laughs and stuff. Like Ryan and I used to like stay up late and just drink. Like we would be drunk playing that game, and it was just that's how you know it's a good game.
Right.
But the second game was
Any game where
bad.
you're
And
losing track of time is
yeah,
is a sign that it's good.
yeah,
What were you
yeah.
saying?
But the issue with that game is that it's to be fair, the decline of that game was it's like the devs kind of gave up on it. I think it was where Blizzard was dealing with a lot of lawsuits and
Oh, that's right.
other
Yeah.
things, and so they lost steam. I think it was, and they promised a lot. Like so, they said, oh, we're coming out with Overwatch 2, and they said, oh, we'll promise a campaign mode and all this other stuff, and they did. I don't know if they're still servicing it now. I guess they are, because I mean, my daughter plays it on Xbox. But yeah, it's just nowhere near where it was,
Right.
and you can tell that, like, here's some context for you. So like normally Blizzard they only release their games for their own platforms. You wouldn't find their games on Steam, but Overwatch 2 is on Steam now, and it's got all negative reviews, and it's really bad. But that's how like desperate they are for this game to be, to get. And it's free to play. That was the other thing was like the outrage was that people like myself bought the first game. You know what I mean? We bought it for $60. How many years ago it was?
Right.
And then it's like Overwatch 2 comes out. Then you actually had to buy that game because they made it like a standalone thing. So you purchase that for maybe like $30, and then now it's free to play. It's like, what the hell? Like, what was all that for?
Right. That's a slap in the face.
Yeah. So that's more the bone to pick that people have with that game. Is it just they gave up on it.
Right. Understandable.
I love games.
The games.
Wait. Me hungry. I'm not hungry.
Have you ever played God of War?
I have not.
No.
And I played the first one, but not like. I think it was like because that first one came out like it was a PlayStation 2 game, wasn't it?
The first one was in PS2 era, the Greek trilogy or whatever.
Yeah.
That's where it started.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I played it over Jesse's house or something, or J-Man.
Mm-hmm.
Well, whatever.
Yeah, it's fine.
Now everyone knows.
Cat's out of the bag.
Oops. But yeah, I mean that was actually it was funny. He always had all these games, so like anytime I wanted to see what a game was like, he'd just be like, "Yeah, come over." And when we were kids, it was like going to Blockbuster.
Yeah, definitely. Jesse's was a good way to learn if you liked the game or not, because usually him or his brothers would have the game.
Yep. Yeah, I remember his older brother had all these games like when we were kids, and like anytime I'd be like, "Hey, older J-Man, can I play with your game?" And he's like, "No."
Yeah, I could see him being like that.
Yeah. No.
But yeah, the only reason I asked is because the Norse game that came out in 2018, where it's kind of like a reinvention of the world without really rebooting, without really whitewashing what happened in the past in the Greek trilogy or whatever. It's a good like jumping off point. Because I know D-Man played it without playing the other games, and
Yeah.
you don't need to have played the other games to kind of like appreciate it or to follow it or whatever. Like it stands on its own completely. And I don't know. I was wondering if you ever played it because I just felt like that was always a game that I feel it would be like to your liking in a way.
Yeah, I have intentions of playing the second one because I liked that whole like he's in like Norway and like he's dealing with the Norse gods and I think that's really cool.
Because I knew nothing about the Norse mythology really before going into it. So like that's what I always liked about God of War is that it kind of walks you through and you kind of learn the mythology as you play.
Yeah. Yeah. Sure. Well, that's what's cool about some of these games. You sometimes you learn stuff.
Sometimes. Hey. So we went for a little over an hour. I think we'll end this episode. We can keep playing if you want. But I'll end the recording. So it was good talking with you, Robert.
Thanks, Kev.
Yeah. Good matches. Anyone out there who wants to like, comment, or subscribe, it's greatly appreciated. You can subscribe to Kev Plays 9490 on YouTube or follow me on Twitter at Let's Watch Series. Pelpa Pig. He's a user that is a longtime fan of me. Like he was actually in the chat. He only said hi and he laughed at some points, but I didn't get. Usually I'll talk to him or whatever, but I didn't get a chance to read any of your comments or whatever. But I just want to say shout out to you for if you're still here or whatever. Uh, other than that, everyone stay safe, stay healthy, keep a clear head, and keep on gaming. And I'll catch you all next time. Peace out. Robert, you can say bye if you want to.
Farewell, friends. Till next time.
Canosa, wipe this
Nice.
nation stain off our land.